Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man Podcast. Today I have Kyle Raymer, who is a Manflow Yoga member since 2022 from Virginia Beach. We're going to be talking about his health and wellness journey. So, Kyle, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Glad to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So I understand you're also a Midwestern transplant.
That's correct.
Yeah. So what part? You're from Indiana?
I'm from Indiana. Yes, yes.
Okay. My dad grew up in Gary. No, was it Gary? Michigan City.
Okay,
Michigan
yeah.
City, Indiana.
I actually went to college with some people from Michigan City. So yeah,
Okay.
which is
Cool.
it's interesting. That's a depending on where you live in Indiana, it can be very different in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
like geography. Like it's a very flat up there. I grew up in the southern part of the state, and there's like rolling hills there, so it's
Oh,
different. So
okay.
that's interesting.
Cool. So, and I just want to start this off by saying this isn't meant to be like this blatant promotion of Manful Yoga. I really just want to hear about, your health and wellness journey. Obviously Manful Yoga being a part of that, but also what else grew from that and, what was the progression? So the first question I want to ask is when was the moment that you realized, okay, I can't keep doing things the way that I've been doing and I need to start changing the way that I'm approaching my health and wellness?
I think I came to yoga because of I think I was overtraining with running, and
Mm,
I always knew that yoga would be a good thing to incorporate with my running. And in fact, I had been running so much that I'm like I started to get shin splints. I started, you
mm,
know, like my knees started to ache and that sort of thing. And I'm like, you know what? If I want to continue to run like well into like like my older years, then I need to do something. But I always knew that yoga. I was always told that yoga would be an excellent way to kind of extend your running life. So
hmm
I
So
kind of
how
approached
long
it
you
that
been
way.
running for, and when did you start looking for a yoga solution?
So I think I posted over the weekend a photo from my very first half marathon, and
Oh yeah, I remember that.
that was 17 years ago. But
Okay.
I had been running, before that, but nothing, no distance of real length before
Okay.
then. And so, um, I hadn't had all the mileage in like I do now. And so, especially starting running kind of later in life, I don't think I ran into the problems that I think other guys do.
hmm
If they, I mean, I did run track in middle school and a little bit in high school, but never distance. It was always short distances. So I don't know that I built up enough mileage to say, oh, my knees, I can't run anymore because my knees are hurting,
hmm
or what. I don't really have that.
Got it. So
So
what age did you start running?
it was probably like in my like mid 30s, I think.
Okay. What was the
So
goal? Was it just general exercise? Was it like you wanted to run, or what was it?
I think it was general exercise. Plus, I had a good friend of mine who was a runner, and he kind of got me into it. And so I kind of credit a friend really, because
Okay.
again, I don't think I ever felt like I had the endurance
Mm.
to run long distances. And then
So what was your average run, or how long were you going running for?
so probably definitely like a 5K, like 3 miles, or
Okay.
but I think in the beginning it was probably less than that, and I kind of worked my way up to that. So
Yeah. All right. So mid 30s, you start running, and then when did you start Manful Yoga? When did you start looking for yoga? You said 17 years later.
yes, yes.
Okay.
So and again, I think I
So
probably
how old were you at that point?
let's see, that was what, 2 years ago. I was in my early 50s. So
Okay. Was turning 50 like a big? moment for you? No, just like
No,
some people, it's like a life changing. Like, okay, I've really got to do things differently, and some people are like, I'm 50
I
now.
think it probably could have been, and I think the pandemic didn't help. You know,
Mm.
I turned 50 in 2021, and so we were still kind of in the midst of all that.
Did you have
And
a
I
virtual
had
party?
yeah, exactly. Like I think you know, I really had wanted to plan a trip to like Greece or somewhere, amazing
Yeah,
like that, but it just wasn't in the cards because again, because of the pandemic.
right.
But yeah, 50 was not really a, end all be all thing for me. I think, oddly enough, I think like 30 and 40 were more like, kind of like, you know, holy shit, I'm kind of like, I'm getting old here,
Mm.
and again, I think, as you have more birthdays, they seem less and less significant. So, or you
Yeah,
don't count them,
eventually.
you don't really count them anymore, so
Yeah, eventually you get to an age where you're just like, this really isn't a milestone. Like 22 is not a milestone age.
right,
23 is not. And then, yeah, like a 38 means nothing. It's just, oh, another
right.
year, I guess. So you started doing manful yoga. And for you, what enabled you to be consistent? That's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with. So I'm curious for you, um, what allowed you to be consistent?
One thing I love, and again, at risk of sounding like I'm plugging Manflow Yoga here, but I love the accountability emails. That for me is so
Okay.
helpful because if you have a workout like in your inbox, then it's kind of like, oh, this is sort of my like agreement to myself that I this is something I got scheduled. This is something I'm planning on doing. But also for
Hmm.
me, I think, again, I think it depends on the person. But for me, once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm usually am pretty good about staying on top of it and doing it. So
Hmm.
as soon
Did
as
it take
I
you No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. As soon, like I said, as soon as I decide I'm doing this, I'm a member now. You know, I'm committed. So, and I think that once I commit to something, I'm pretty good about doing the follow through.
How long did it take you to decide that, okay, this is manful yoga is what I want to do? Or, manful yoga is a specific example, but, generally, how long does it take you to figure out?
I don't think it took me long.
Okay.
I knew that, and um, again, when I looking back, I actually did look up to see when I started. I'm like, wow, I didn't you know, I didn't even finish out that 6 week trial before I decided, I want to become a member. So
Mm,
I think fairly quickly I realized that there's a lot to this, and it can go well beyond helping me with running. It could help me in a lot of other ways, and that's what
hmm.
I guess I didn't think about. I'm like, wow, this can help me like with stress, which I don't think I didn't approach yoga thinking about that at all,
Hmm.
um, and which I should have, because I know that breathing is a big part of yoga,
Hmm.
and that's so helpful and in helping you relax and kind of relieve stress. And so
Hmm.
I guess I didn't really think about it in that way. I think I was really thinking more about what I could do for your body as opposed to like what it could do for your mental
Hmm.
wellness. And I think that that's been a really huge kind of um, fringe benefit of yoga is how it can help your mental your
Hmm.
mental wellness.
So was it was it that manful yoga was helpful for multiple aspects of your health? Was that the motivation? Is that what helped you to, to stick with it and to want to do it?
Absolutely, and just it helped me establish a routine.
Mm,
and just figuring out, okay, how does yoga fit into my running? How does it fit into other aspects of what I wanted to my goals for fitness, and
mm-hmm,
just plugging that in, I think has really helped. And just doing yoga opposite those days that you're concentrating on strength training in the gym or whatever, that
mm-hmm.
seemed to
Yeah, so
have
that's a great question. I was gonna ask is, or what you're bringing up is a great topic, but what is the, how did you fit this in with your other workouts? How did you, you know, balance those other activities? And what were
I
those
don't
other
know that
activities?
I don't know that I always did a good job about it, because I know that for a while I was really focused on doing like other workouts. I
Mm-hmm.
was concentrating on doing more weightlifting, and that seemed to like be my focus. And I kind of forgot that, oh, I need to be doing something on those days where they're like considered like rest days, or
Yeah.
off days. Like, you've got to do something, whether that's walking or. And so I think that's where yoga really came into play for me. Is I would, and that's what I've kind of continued to this day, is um, doing those yoga workouts opposite those days that I'm in the gym doing
Mm-hmm.
weightlifting or strength training. So, and the way my
Gotcha.
schedule is now, I'm doing my weightlifting strength training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I'm doing flow yoga like Tuesday, Thursday, and then probably Saturday. And then Sunday is kind of like a free day, but I always like to try and do either a yoga workout or walk or bike.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a really great and like super simple because people do. So first off, I'll say that, I don't know if there is a perfect way to balance all of these things. I think it's as much of an art as a science, and whatever, I think everyone wants to do more with their fitness. I'm like, okay, well, I definitely want to do yoga in the morning, and then I want to do whatever workout later on, and then I definitely want to do some supplementary mobility work before I go to bed, and maybe I can fit in a quick 10-minute session, before lunch. Like, there's so many different
Mhm.
workouts that you want to do, and ultimately you're it's unlikely that you're ever going to be able to do all of the things that you want to do. So, um, and then also you have different phases with your fitness, or different seasons, so to speak. So sometimes you're like, I'm really into weightlifting right now, and that's where I'm pushing myself. And then other times, you're not, and you're doing a lot more yoga, or you're doing more running. And I think the important thing there is just continue to stay consistent no matter what. And let your motivation guide you. Um, it's more about being consistent than about, like, doing the exact perfect formula. That's what's going to help you, like, make it sustainable.
Yeah, I love that, and I feel like that has been exactly the case for me. It seems like it kind of ebbs and flows, and I also just to kind of speak a little bit about myself, and I feel like I've always struggled with weight. I feel like my weight has kind of yo-yoed like
Mm,
constantly, and I think I'm in one of those. I'm like, oh wow, I was kind of like, weight wise, I was kind of like going down, kind of like on a downward slope in terms of like the weight loss was coming, and it was happening quickly. And I think I'm sort of at that moment where I've kind of plateaued, and it's
yeah.
I'm like, so I think what I'm really trying to concentrate on right now is how to really do some maintaining. And I'm really kind of like focused on that right now, and I never really was before. And there isn't a magic number for me. I think I used to think, oh yeah, being a certain weight would definitely be sustainable for me, but I don't know
Hmm.
that there really is a magic number. But I think if I see, the needle not moving too far in terms of like weight gain, then I'm feeling like I'm probably doing something right. So,
Hmm.
but
So what was your heaviest weight?
so wow, I think in college, in college I was probably like 180 or more. And again, I wasn't weighing myself, on a regular basis. But I think just in terms of appearance, I could tell. But I do feel like I knew that I was probably in the 180 range at some point.
Hmm.
So I must have
And how
weighed
tall are
myself
you?
at 1.56.
Five
So
six, 180.
yeah,
And then what's your current weight?
I think it's like one. I think I weighed myself yesterday at the gym. I think it was like 161 or something. So I think
Okay.
that seems to
So
be sort of where I've kind of plateaued. I think
do you feel
I
good
want
at that
to.
weight?
Yeah, I feel good, but I feel like I can probably stand to lose a little bit more. But I will tell you, after what I experienced kind of this time last year, I think I have a kind of artificial sense of like, oh, weight loss can come quickly. But I had experienced some kidney stones last year. I had
Mm.
already
Yeah. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, I had already started kind of on a weight loss program, and then I think once that happened, it sort of accelerated everything. And so I think I had this false sense of, oh wow, I can do this, and the weight can come
You
off
just
like 20
you
pounds
just
can
need to
fly
get
off
sick.
like that, right? Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. But
it's the COVID weight loss plan. Yeah.
right, so I think that I'm like, wow, you know what? That's first of all, that's not sustainable. Like,
Hmm.
I think I was down to like 145. I'm like,
Hmm.
that seems like a great weight, but it just I'm like, there's no way I can maintain that and not be healthy. And I think that
Did you feel good at 145?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't. So trying to think about like, oh, how can I get back there? I'm like, well, barring being sick, I don't know how I could. I mean,
Mm.
so I think you just really have to be on top of it, and I think that's really
Yeah.
a challenge. And I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying about there's a season for it, and I think that I'm not always I'm not always like tuned into the weight loss like I should be or could be, and so I think that's why right now I'm like, yeah, I probably have more weight back on than I probably wanted to gain back, but
Mhm.
as long as I can maintain, I'm happy with that. But again, I think I'm probably going to look at really kind of tightening up on the diet and
Yeah.
seeing what I
What's
can
worked
do.
well with you with weight loss?
Um, I've tried Whole 30 in the past, and that seemed to help.
Hmm.
I think the following the diet plan that Fit Father recommends has really helped me as well. So
Hmm. Okay.
and just staying away from sugar. I don't drink soda. I haven't in a long time. Um, and it's interesting. I'm finding that just with doing like a protein shake in the morning, I don't drink as much coffee as I used to. I used to be a coffee fiend, three
Mm.
and four cups a day, if not more. And I feel like I really, good or bad, I don't drink as much coffee as I used to.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Um, okay. So that's some good advice there. So when my next question has to do with when you encounter resistance with health and wellness. So it could be in being consistent with your workouts. It could be in, following a new diet or, implementing Whole 30. How do you deal with that? And how do you deal with discouragement in general?
I think that's a great question. I kind of experienced this actually recently. I had some friends from out of town that were here, and they their visit kind of overlapped. I'm like, oh, they're going to be here when I'm, usually at the gym on Monday morning, I'm like, so I didn't feel like I can't really like sneak away while I'm trying to like, be with them, and so th- that was a little, uh, that was a little frustrating for me because I'm like, wow, this is kind of like my routine is getting disrupted here. And,
Mm-hmm.
but what I had to remind myself is like, this is temporary. It's such a temporary thing that, sure, I may not be able to work out like I normally do on a Monday morning, but I'm just going to have to adjust my schedule. And, whether that means, doing an abridged version of my weekly schedule, that's what I'm going to have to do. And so it just, realizing that, there are going to be setbacks. You're not always going to be able to maintain a schedule like you want, but as long as you are doing something, and even if it's like a kind of an abridged version of your
Yeah.
weekly fitness routine, then it's what you can do. It's what you can manage and what you can um, schedule given what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. So
Yeah. I think it's a really important mindset to have with things because a lot of people will get bogged down in the all or nothing mentality,
right.
or they'll feel really they'll carry around a lot of shame with things that they didn't do, and they're like, "Oh, you idiot, why couldn't you do your workout today?" or "Oh, you're lazy, you didn't want to do you didn't want to do this," or "Oh, you fatso, why'd you eat that piece of cake?" or like whatever it is. But yeah, I think being able to recognize that this isn't do or die, and you're going to sometimes you're going to go off the track, and sometimes life is just going to happen, right? Like
Mhm.
your workouts are not
Right.
your most important thing. So I really like that you have that. I really also like that that's something that our community in general has, like this sense of grace, this seeing that having grace for yourself is better than shaming yourself into like, I just worked a double shift at work and I was really tired and there was no food at home and the AC's out, but I still did a 2 hour workout. And I'm like, did you really need to do that? Is that good for you? Like, no. Maybe you should have just gone to sleep. Um, so yeah, I think that's great that you have that recognition and you live with that. So another question that I have has to do with, so you've been running for a long time. You got into manful yoga after almost 2 decades of that. Also moving into your 50s. How did that? Where else did that take you in terms of your overall health and wellness? What other areas did you start to go into?
I think I got into the gym more, and I started hitting the weights more than I would,
Mhm,
I'll tell you that there were I that kind of has ebbed and flowed for me over the probably past 17 years as well. There would be a group of guys that I would get together with and work out with, and well, that was good and that was motivating because you had somebody, that was pushing you. But there was also a downside to it because, depending on, that other person's schedule, they may be like, oh, well, I can't, X, Y, and Z happened at work today, and I can't go. And so it was good and bad. It was like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And I was really looking forward to getting in the gym today. And
mm,
so I guess what it ultimately boiled down to is like, and what I've realized is you can't really rely on anyone else but yourself to get it done in terms of
mm.
your fitness. And so I think
Do you
having
always
a
want to do
fir-
your workout?
no. And I
Good
think that I
answer.
would, I think I would be lying to you if I said yes. But
Yeah.
I think the better, I've seen this a lot, kind of like on different, in my feed on Facebook, different fitness feeds that I see is just changing your mindset about, okay, it's not something you have to do, it's something you get to do. And
Mhm,
so I think that's such I mean, that's so minor, but I
mhm,
think that's. that's everything. It's like you get to do it. It's like it's a gift because not everyone has that ability. Not everyone can do that. So I think the fact that I have that opportunity, I think it kind of like, again, it's like a whole mind shift, and
Hmm.
I think that that's helpful. I mean, that's the way you're gonna maintain a decent routine. As if you approach it like, oh, it's something you get to do. It's not something you have to do, or
Hmm.
it's not like a
Yeah.
chore. Like it shouldn't be a chore. It should be something you want to do because it's like it's helpful and it's gonna make you feel and be better.
Yeah. Totally. I think that's definitely the right mentality to have. That those little language tweaks are important. Like one thing that I say a lot that I have been pretty good about implementing when it suits me, I guess, is saying, "Oh, I could not make that a priority," versus I couldn't do it because I could do it.
Right.
I could have done it. I did
Sure.
not make it a priority. I
Right.
chose not to make it a priority. Now that's different when like my wife is saying like, "Hey, why didn't you make dinner?" I'm like, "Well, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I could not do it today." Or hey, when are you done today? Like, well, I have to do my workout. So like I need to go do my workout and then I can, help out. So but yeah, internally, I think saying like, oh, I get to do my workout versus I have to is a much better way to think about it. So what results have you noticed just in general in your your day-to-day life in terms of your overall maybe happiness or fulfillment as a result of doing mindful yoga, starting to be more consistent with your weight training, continuing running, you know, getting to a better weight? What results have you noticed from doing those things?
I chronically have had difficulty sleeping, and I think that just this whole routine that I have has really helped with that.
Mm,
I think I sleep better, and with that, I know that in the past there have been times where because I I always have been like an early morning kind of workout person, so that's when I go to the gym on
hmm
Monday, Wednesday, Friday is always in the morning, and usually I'm up those days at 5 a.m. and I'm usually in the gym by 6,
hmm
and so I know myself and in the past where I wasn't kind of like in a good place fitness wise, and I would be trying to maintain that kind of schedule, and I would wake up and maybe I hadn't slept that well the night before, and I would make an excuse and I would roll over and I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't get out of bed and
mm.
I wouldn't go do it. And I think that having this routine, I don't feel that way anymore. And I think maybe again, I think it's because I'm sleeping better and I'm feeling better.
How'd you break that cycle? Did you just force yourself to get up for a few days, or what did you do
Yeah,
to
I think
break it
so,
down?
and I think I felt better. Like I'm like, and you know what I think also helps is getting up and the first thing I do is drink water, and I think
Mhm.
that there's something about drinking water that like it. And this may sound really weird, but I feel like it wakes me up. I feel like it kind of
Yeah.
obviously rehydrates you from the night before, but it it's become part of my morning routine that I feel like it helps me like wake up. And maybe it's
Yeah.
because I always, it's always ice water. And so maybe that's part of it too, that the cold
Yeah.
kind of wakes you up. But
I had someone I spoke with a long time ago. He did this thing where he brushed his teeth as soon as he woke up. Unrelated, kind of related. My thought with the water was you can wake yourself up really well if you just pour too much water in your mouth and start choking and activate your fight or flight response. But he actually did this every day. He brushed his teeth, but he would like stick the toothbrush like toward the back of his mouth
like
to
almost gag
activate.
himself.
Yeah, to like gag himself. He's like, and then I wake right up. I'm like, why would you start your day like that? That sounds terrible. So, anyways, point being, yeah, I'm a big fan of waking up and drinking water. If I don't do that, I notice that like I get a little bit of a headache. So definitely the water thing. And there's a lot of kind of subconscious, maybe subliminal benefits that go from that, like just the act of, oh, I'm nourishing myself, like I'm taking care of myself, I'm making my health a
Mhm.
priority. So so yeah, so the sleep improvement thing too. Um, so wait, so help me get clear on that. So how did you first start? You know, you weren't sleeping well, you didn't have the energy to work out. So where did you find the energy to work out, or how did you start? How did you get past that initial like block?
Um, that's a good question. I think it's just, um, you know, you take it day by day, and I think that you know, a day turns into a week, turns into a month, and
Hmm.
and before you know it, you're like, you know what, I don't have those issues anymore. And I think also, if you're doing something in the morning, and then I really liked, and I need to like really do more of it, is after dinner going for a walk. And I
Mm,
think that if you are doing something in the morning, then you're doing something in the evening, and you're doing something that will ultimately, I guess, make you tired, I guess,
yeah,
then
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
that's gonna like help the whole sleep thing. And I think that's really been helpful. Is like, remember, like, especially after a long day at work, you're like, oh, the last thing I want to do after dinner is go for a walk. But I think I've found that when I feel that way, that's the best time to do it. That's when you really should be doing it, because then
Hmm.
you are kind of tiring yourself out, and that will make for a better night's sleep.
Yeah. So, what are you? I'm gonna shift gears, ask you another question. So, what are you currently focusing on with your health? What's kind of the next obstacle or the challenge?
For me, I think it's building muscle, and lean
Hmm.
muscle, and maybe some definition. I know that there are people in my life that have noticed, like, oh yeah, I can tell that you've been doing something, because you definitely have more definition in your arms than I've
Mm,
ever noticed about you before. And so I think just hearing that, I'm like, that's motivation for me to like continue what I'm doing.
yeah, got it. Cool. Um, and then I just wanted to ask one question before we move on to our rapid fire section. How has being part of a fitness community? So part of this is Manful Yoga. I know you're also part of Fit Father Project. How has being part of a fitness community helped you with your overall wellness versus trying to do it all on your own?
I've been so overwhelmed about how supportive um, the community has been and continues to be. I guess I never thought that would be part of this.
Mm,
Um, and I just am just amazed how people have reached out to me personally about things like I've had have guys send me private messages and say, you're doing the X, Y, and Z has really inspired me to try and do it also. And I
mm,
guess I mean, I never set out to do man flow yoga to like inspire someone else. I did it for myself. So the fact that
hmm.
that's happening, I think is pretty amazing. So
Yeah,
just
I think
again,
that's
I
really
think
cool.
yeah, I think it's cool that everyone has just been so wonderful and so supportive and so encouraging. And I think that's helpful, especially if you are, at a moment where you're kind of like teetering on, oh, I'm I'm not feeling the greatest about, what I'm doing right now. Just that, little word of encouragement is like kind of make, all the difference.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, Yeah. So, moving on to our questions. So, what do you think is one habit, belief, or mindset that's helped you the most in terms of your overall health and wellness?
So are we doing the rapid fire thing? So I need to
We're rapid firing.
I
Yes.
need to fire it off. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. What is one thing, what is one habit, belief, or mindset that has helped you the most in terms of your overall health and wellness?
I think just fitting in, like if you could do 15 minutes, like I find myself like, especially I have the opportunity to work from home. So 15 minutes, um, just to get away from the desk and walk,
Mm,
once in the morning and in the afternoon, if I can do that, I think that's huge for me because it's something I never would do ever, in my work life. So just incorporating small things um,
hmm Yeah,
like
I think
that,
that's a
like
great
a
answer.
15-minute walk, or doing like getting up from the desk and doing like a 7-minute like flow.
Yeah.
You know, is I love doing that, and I wish I had time pockets of time in my day where I feel like I could do that. So
hmm Cool. Yeah, I think that's great advice. What is one thing that you do for your health that you think is overlooked or undervalued by others?
hmm, maybe it's an attitude thing.
Mm,
um, Kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like maybe it's a mindset that's like, you know it, it's a new day, and I could do X Y Z, or I don't know. Maybe it's just a mindset that I think
yeah, just
people.
the get to instead of the have to.
Yeah, I think that's kind of people don't appreciate that like
Okay.
they should. I think
Yeah. No, I think that's great. What's the most stressful part of your day to day life?
probably work, but
What
but
aspect
not
of it?
but not every day. Um, I think when if something is crazy going on, you've got a lot to do that can be stressful. I think like people in your life can be a cause of stress, whether they mean to or not. I think
Yeah, totally.
relationships can cause undue stress.
hmm
I think, yeah, I think people, relationships, work, um,
Yeah.
and I think I think yoga has helped me. I think when things get stressful, I think I always go back to remembering the breath. And
Yeah.
I know that that's been you've covered that a lot in some of a lot of the workouts is you know concentrating on breathing in the workout is good, but just knowing that can translate into your daily life too. That
Right.
later on, when you're behind your desk and you're feeling like you're stressed, just remember the breath. And I find myself thinking about that. So
Yeah. Absolutely. What's the biggest challenge in your fitness right now?
I would say, hmm, I don't know that I feel like I'm completely dialed in right now, and I think that just getting back there, I think
hmm In terms
is
of the overall workout schedule or the nutrition aspect, or which
I
parts?
think it's probably more nutrition than anything else. So I
Okay.
think I know that I definitely have room to tighten up on that. So
Cool. All right. What's your best piece of advice for men who want to be healthier?
you just have to decide to do it. Like you have to like make your mind up that enough is enough. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm feeling, feeling tired or feeling, you know, stressed out. Um, Kind of like what we were saying about priorities, like making yourself and your health a priority. I know that's hard for people, especially if you're, you know, in a situation where a lot of people depend on you, and it's hard. It would be hard to find the time to do that for yourself. But and maybe that's an excuse. People say, "Oh, well, I don't have time in my day to do something," and I think it's kind of goes back to what you were saying about priority. It's like, sure, you probably did have time in your day, you just didn't make it a priority. And making yourself a priority, I think that's hard for guys. Is to like to realize, oh, you know what? At the end of the day, all these people are depending on me, so I've got to take care of myself in order to
Hmm.
take care of other people. So
Cool. All right. Well, Kyle, thank you for that conversation. So,
definitely.
and it's cool if people reach out to you in the Facebook group or
Oh
in
yeah,
Manful Yoga Engage.
absolutely. I
Okay.
welcome that.
Awesome. Okay. So it's Kyle Raymer, Raymer. Is it Raymer? Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, your play. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I like to play this game where I look at words and invent pronunciations. So I guess I could like Ramer if I really wanted to. That'd be weird. But anyways, yeah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think there's a lot of really helpful tips in here. So, yeah, thank you again for joining this. Thank you for being part
Thank
of
you.
the Manful Yoga community.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today, Dean. Thank you.
Yeah, this is cool. All right. Well, guys, I hope this inspires you to be a better man, and I'll see you on the next episode.